All right, we're going to start off the program tonight with the Pohawk Chorale is going to come out and sing the national anthem and Ponca City We Love You. After that, then we'll have a short video, a couple of short videos. So let me get the high school chorale. They're coming out, and this group is the best in the world. They really are.
Recipient of the Hall of Fame Scholarship. Next year, I plan to attend NOC for my basics and then go to UCO to get my music education degree and become a choir teacher. Once a wildcat, always a wildcat. At the high school, I've been a part of many things with band and choir, and as a senior, you're always told that, you're leaving, you're not going to be a wildcat, or you're not going to be involved in anything anymore. And to me, that's not true. As a wildcat, I've learned so many different things, I've met so many different people, made tons of connections, and I plan on taking that with me wherever I go. And to me, that's what being a wildcat is. I'd like to thank everybody for this opportunity.
My name's Elijah Kreisel. I got the Hall of Fame scholarship. I plan to go to OSU and get my business degree. And then after I finish college, would like to be a multi-business owner. Once a wildcat, always a wildcat means to me is that we'll always be a family no matter what. I would really like to thank you guys for giving me the scholarship. And yes, thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Victoria Meyer and I was awarded the Hall of Fame scholarship. My future plans are to go to the University of Central Oklahoma to pursue a degree in nursing and then go on to medical school to become a CRNA. Once a Wildcat, always a Wildcat means to me that no matter what memories we made here and any friends that we make, we'll always remain a family and we'll always go back to each other no matter what. And I would like to thank all of the Hall of Fame committee of selecting me to be a recipient of the scholarship.
Okay, let me start by talking a little bit about our Hall of Fame and our endowment group. And this will only take a second. I want everybody here to know there's a couple of things that we do, what our committee does. First of all, we induct some awesome people into the Hall of Fame, but we also supply scholarships each year, 2 or 3 scholarships depending on the amount of money that's there. We give scholarships out, and I want to read you our Hall of Fame, Pro-High Hall of Fame mission statement, if you don't mind. We are a nonprofit organization that seeks to recognize Ponca City High School graduates who have significant achievements in their post-high school careers. We will use the examples set by these individuals, I'm talking about you 5 out here, these individuals to inspire today's students and fund scholarships for the next generation of Ponca City School graduates to carry on the legacy. And I say that because these 5 inductees tonight, their pictures and bios will be up on the 2nd floor of the Howe building, just like the other 41 are right now. And we want our students, our Pro-High students, to be able to go by and see those pictures, see those bios. And you never know, there may be somebody along the way who gets something out of it, who it's significant to them, and they can take the right step. It's awesome. And anyway, if I were a student, I think I'd go by and look at them every once in a while. And they're going to see these 5 people up there starting whenever we get them up next week. But anyway, that's what our endowment is about, or that's what our Hall of Fame is about, and our endowment is about raising money to provide scholarships. So if anybody has any interest, you can look at our endowment group, our endowment program, and it's on the Ponca City High School Alumni Hall of Fame Facebook page, or I think it's actually on the Ponca City School System Facebook page as well. So you're welcome to look at that. If you have questions about it, you can call me or anybody else on our committee or the administrators down at the admin office, okay? So, well, I want most of you, I think everybody here knows that I'm very proud to be a Ponca City person. I was born and raised here. Been here not all my life, but most of it, a little out of college, job. But for the most part, been here my whole life, and I'm very proud to have been here and lived here. One of the things here recently, the last few years, last 7 or 8 or 9 years that I've been so proud of is that to be a part of this program, the Alumni Hall of Fame. When I read through some of the bios of the inductees, it's almost like, oh my goodness, you're from Ponca, how did you do that? What in the world? We have some outstanding people that have gone through that are in this program. And I am very proud of it. I'm proud to be a part of it. And it really is, it's something to look at. So anyway, when I talk about those things, I look at Mark Dudley, and I look at Bobby Wilson, and I look at Joe Day, and I know who Stephanie is. I can't see her today, and I know who Doug Fuller is. But those people are outstanding, and I'm proud to be a part of what's going on tonight, just to be here. Okay? Okay. All right. Let's not mess around with me anymore. Let's get on with our superintendent, and Amy will be inducting one. Larry Murphy, he'll be also inducting one. I will too. But anyway, we'll switch off and we'll get to this induction ceremony. If you're ready.
All right, thank you everybody. Good evening everyone and welcome to Ponca City's Concert Hall. It's a little bit different for those that have the Howell Auditorium or the Hutchins Auditorium. I hope you are as proud of this facility as we are in Ponca City. Like Alan said, I'm Alumni. I'm the school superintendent. This is my second year as school superintendent and I am very excited to be able to hear and induct some outstanding alumni. As we gather here, we're not only celebrating the accomplishments of these distinguished individuals, but also reflecting on the values and experiences that our school continues to instill in students today. Tonight, we're reminded of the power and the intersection where education, hard work, and community values intersect, that these individuals each exemplify in their personal and professional lives. Each of our honorees tonight have blazed their own unique trail, but they all share one thing in common: the foundation they received here in Ponca City. Whether in business, the arts, public service, athletics, medicine, or any other number of fields, they demonstrate what's possible when talent is paired with dedication and a commitment to excellence. On behalf of Ponca City Public Schools, our Board of Education, and our community, I want to congratulate each of our inductees. You've brought nothing but pride to this school, but to everyone who has had the privilege to know them, know you, and witness your journeys. After tonight, your legacy is now forever etched in Ponca City Schools history. We've got a wonderful program lined up for you tonight. First, I want to say thank you to each of you that are here tonight. You got to see videos of each of the Hall of Fame scholarship recipients. Each of you that purchased a ticket or sponsored a table helped make a high school student's college dream possible. So thank you for your purchase and being here tonight in this facility. But I'm going to go ahead and get started. I was challenged a little bit to go and do a little homework on each of our inductees. This very first inductee, I had a lot of fun with doing some research. This inductee is from the class of 1940. He was a dentist, but I don't think many of you know this. He was also a world-renowned tinkerer in his garage. Believe it or not, I think this was a skill picked up when he moved here at the age of 9 from the Colorado Springs, where he resided next to a dentist who was also a tinkerer in his garage. He made custom wooden Christmas decorations that have been put on display for the last 65 years. Are they going to go up again this year? You see, before he was Dr. Fuller, he was assigned to a MASH unit in the South Pacific where he got a lot of practice setting broken jaws, extracting wisdom teeth, and it was after that he set his mind to get his dental degree. Leaving there, he went to go on to the University of Illinois, where he graduated second in his class. That's a Pohai alum doing great things. However, this is one thing you're not going to read in his bio, but as I became superintendent, there is a file of cold cases left unsolved of high school issues. I've been investigating this thing since the spring of 1939. Not even Homer Bird-Dog Anderson could crack this case. But I think I have a viable lead. You see, one fateful spring day, near the end of the school year, in the cover of darkness, it's been told to me that our inductee, perhaps a brother, and a few friends, dismantled a car, snuck the car in pieces up to the second-story floor of the Howell Auditorium and reassembled it in the cover of darkness. You can imagine the shock the next day when the secretaries and principal reported to work and found a fully assembled functional automobile on the second story of the Howell main office area. I do think, though, the statute of limitations have been lifted for this, and we will not have to see him in my office, but I do think this may go down as one of the greatest pranks in Pohai history. I've spent the last 2 weeks digging through the archives to see if the Board of Education minutes reflected anything in the spring of 1939. I looked through every Poncan school newspaper to see if they had any coverage on it, looked through the yearbook of 1939 to see anything, and I couldn't find anything that alluded to it except for this. In June of 1940, the Ponca City School Board Superintendent presented a report to the Board of Education. In the report, it was titled, the need for a night watchman at Ponca City High School. I don't know if that was the case, but I do think that that board did take action on hiring a night watchman and additional security around the grounds. I would like to welcome Doug Fuller to accept the induction of his dad, Dr. Jim Fuller, into the Pope Life Hall of Fame.
Well, Dad only told that story later because we were held to a higher standard that you didn't do things like that. Although it didn't work out very well, right, Bruce? We still have our challenges. So, good evening. Thank you from all of our family, especially from myself and my siblings. You can see we have a large crowd here. My 4 sisters, Marilyn Bartell, Janie Elkins, Emily Otto, Barbara Milwee, and my little brother, Bruce Fuller, and all of the grandkids, as many as we could, we rounded up and we're here. And the reason we're here is all 6 of us were native Ponca Cityans. We were born and raised here. We went to Roosevelt grade school. We went to East Junior High, and we went to Ponca City High School. So we bleed Ponca. And I told Mr. Green to give me just a latitude here at the beginning. I was going to tell a quick story, and I told Callie Lamar I had a little story about Ponca City News, and not to take it harshly. But you might see this yellow button here. You probably can't read it, but it says, "Yay Kittens." So if you remember, or if you don't know, back in the day, we had the high school, the grade schools, and 2 junior highs. West Junior High Westerners, that's a pretty good name, and East Junior High Kittens. This was the booster button that my mom wore to football games. And of course, it's pretty tough running out on the field and the mother's going, "Go Kittens." We didn't scare too many people, I guess. But I had to tell that story, and then I saw Stan Painter tonight. Stan, where are you? Stan was in my graduating class in 1975. He told me that our record ended up being 6-2. He said we weren't expected to win any games. But we did, and it's one of my wife's favorite stories, is the Ponca City News came out before the season kicked off, 1971. This is the clipping right here. And we thought, myself, Jim Slavacek, and Randy McDaniel, they're going to do a story about our team. We have brand new uniforms. We're feeling pretty good about ourselves. They interview us, take the picture, and there it is the next day in the news. Front and center, front page, that picture, but the headline you can't see is "Kitten Team, Weak and Thin this year." So I told Callie, I've been scarred for my entire life, but it's a great story. I just wanted to share that with you. So now let's get down to some serious stuff about our dad. First, I would like to thank the Pohai Hall of Fame Committee for giving this special recognition to our father. We know how special he is, but this cements that for us. Second, our family just wants to recognize and congratulate all the honorees that are here tonight. What a class. What an honor to be with those people and be associated with that all-star cast. For me, I just have to tell you, this is one of the most special days of my life. My daughter was married July 13th. That was a huge day for me, and Susie. But tonight, you have to realize, Jim Fuller was my hero. He was the man, there's not even a close second. He was the man that I aspired and wanted to be. I always did that, and luckily Dad knew that. He didn't have to die and never know that. And I told him and he knew that, and I firmly believe that, and he's why I'm here today. I also want to quickly acknowledge our mom. So Jim and Joanne, they met in high school at Pohai. For the next 75 years, they were a couple. Everything they did outside of Dad's work was the 2 of them and our family, and they made it special for us here in Ponca City. Dad was a really humble man. If he was here tonight, he wouldn't be talking about himself. He'd be talking about everybody else in this class and everybody in Ponca City. But I know what he would take away from tonight. That honor, he would say, it's a validation of job well done. Because Dad, that's what he believed in. If you don't know this, we are also, I think, 9th descendants or whatever of the Mayflower. So Dad has that Puritan faith, he has that Puritan work ethic, and it's been passed down. So that's who Dad was. You said Doc Fuller. Alan mentioned that. He was Jimmy Eugene Fuller, not James, Jimmy Eugene Fuller. He was known as Jim Fuller, Jimmy, Jim, Doc Fuller, Doc. He had a lot of different names, but he was a great man. And I'll let you read about his accomplishments there. I just want to take a few minutes tonight and talk about who Dad was and not what he was. And who he was a servant leader. Everything he did was not about himself. It was either about his family or about all those around him, especially Ponca City people. That's what he wanted to do. Everything around him he wanted to make better, and he wanted to make the people and the town better. So, quick things on dentistry. So, his passion started early on, as you heard. But for 60 years, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., that was his work schedule, he was in the office. He started in 1950, and he ended his career in 2009. And the only reason he stopped, he had a stroke. Otherwise, he was still going strong and still had a great following of people that had followed him for years. And that's one of the great things that we've had the last few months to share. So many stories, so many phone calls, so many texts and emails telling us stories about Dad and what he did for them and what he meant to them, not just as a dentist, but a trusted soul. I did calculate up, and I figured that Dad probably saw 15,000, or worked 15,000 days and seeing a dozen patients daily. But the biggest thing was, and I'm sure some of you can, imagine this, but Dad would come home at 7 p.m. and then everything stopped. All 6 kids, we were at the dinner table. You sat down, you had dinner, the family got together. But lo and behold, back in the day, you had the landline, and it would ring. And what would happen? Dad would get up, walk around the table, through the kitchen, answer that phone, and Mom would say, "Don't you dare pick that up." And sure enough, he would, and the next thing you'd hear is, "I'll be right there." Time after time, Dad went to that office at night taking care of people. Not that he had to, and I challenge you today to find that, but that's what he did, and he lived for it. I added those in, and then I came up with 200,000 times he must have had his hands in somebody's mouth. I don't know how that happens. One real quick story, Mary Warren Kinzer called me just within the last month and shared a story about a bridge that she had put in her teeth to close a gap in 44 years ago. And it just now failed. And she had to call me and tell me that the dentist told her, says, "I've never seen anything like this. I don't know how he did it and how it lasted all this time." And then one other quick thing about the Bournes, because this ties into Mom and Dad's faith and the faith they instilled in us. There was no question about going to church. We were at the First Presbyterian Church every Sunday. The Bournes were on the front right pew, the Fullers the front left pew. And you were there every time, and you went to Sunday school, you went to choir, you went to youth group, you learned to play the piano, you played an instrument. The chorale brought back memories for me. I was in the chorale back in the day. But she did everything, because Mom and Dad wanted you to experience everything there was. And so I appreciate that for them, and them passing that on to us. Regarding dentistry, I'll just tell a quick story here, and I'm going to get to my sisters, but I went to the office just a couple of times on those late night adventures with Dad. But he asked me one time when we were doing that, "Have you ever thought about becoming a dentist? Does dentistry appeal to you?" Sorry, I kind of laugh like I am now. I said, "Dad, I don't know how you do it. You put your hands in people's mouths I would never touch." And he never brought it up again. So I think he knew that it wasn't for me. But the last quick story I'm going to tell is my sisters. Now, all 4 of my sisters worked part-time for Dad growing up. And guess what? They all went on to the medical field, and they all excelled in their medical careers. So I want to tell you this because I know this is what my dad would love to hear and would warm his heart if he was here tonight. Marilyn, the eldest, she has a BS in medical technology and master's. Marilyn spent the last 40 years working at St. Francis Hospital in Tulsa. At the end of her career, she was executive over their 5 hospital ancillary services. You're going to hear a lot about education, but the education was important to my parents and was important to all of us. Janny, the next one, has a BS in dental hygiene and a master's. Janny just ended her long medical career as director of the dental hygiene education at Eastern Florida State College. By the way, my brother and I didn't hold up. I went into banking and Bruce went into technology, so we didn't hold up to the standards. The next one was Emily. She had a BS in nursing, and over the years she was the head of oncology rehab at Baptist, and then she was director of nurses at Westminster Village, being Christy here. She and her husband, Joe Otto, and he's probably had his hands in some of your mouths too. But Joe came back here at Emily in 1985 and Joe joined Dad in the dental practice. And then Emily, after having their 3rd child, she joined him as assistant manager in 1991. And then Barb, the youngest, has a BS in clinical dietetics and a master's. She's worked across the state, and for the last 25 years, Barb has worked for Sodexo St. Anthony's, and she's director of their multi-services, their food, nutrition, environmental services. So I just say that because Dad would be so happy to see, I believe, what he instilled in them growing up in high school, working part-time, and seeing what they could do. It led to the education that they achieved and the great accomplishments they did. The last thing I just want to say is I told you, me and my siblings, Ponca is very dear to us. I love my dad. I love Ponca City. But we talked about it. It was like Camelot to us. It was the golden age back there in the 60s, 70s, 80s. And we have so many fond memories of it. So if you ever run across one of my friends, if you want to ask them to find out if it's truly Doug Fuller they know, then you ask them where I'm from, because they're going to know I'm from Ponca City. And you ask them, what was the high school mascot? And they're going to know it's Wildcat. And then you ask them, who did he play for at East Junior High? And what was their mascot? And it was Kittens. So anyway, as I noted, Dad wanted to help all people. His mission really was to leave this world a better place, and especially Ponca City. And I know if he was looking down tonight, which I know he is from heaven, he'd be very proud. And he loved Ponca City more than anybody. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to talk about Bobby Wilson. He's our next inductee. Bobby was born and raised here in Ponca. He went to grade school here, and he went to East Junior High. He went to high school here, and he graduated in 1957. And during his senior year, he became a state champion wrestler for Ponca City. Now, back then in the 50s and the 60s, there's been a long time, but we had some of the best wrestlers ever, okay? But anyway, after his senior year, he got 2 scholarship offers. One was at the University of Oklahoma. Port Robertson offered him a scholarship, and then Myron Roderick offered him one at Oklahoma State University. Probably the first decision he ever really made that was a good decision. He did go to OSU. Don't throw anything at me, especially my daughter, where she is. But anyway, Bobby attended OSU and got his bachelor's degree down there, and he also got his master's degree. And he got into the education. While he was there, he was an All-American in 1959 and 1961. He was also on the national championship team in 1959 and 61. And after that, I think he stayed another year and was on as a graduate assistant on OSU's 1962 national championship team. Anyway, shortly after he graduated from college, he had already met this guy before, but him and Linda got married, and 65 years ago, I think. And they have two sons, Tommy and Johnny. Okay. After graduating and getting his first coaching job, it was up at Garden City, Kansas Junior College, Garden City Junior College. And Bobby stayed there about 6 years, and he got an offer to come to Ponca City. And he accepted the offer. There's a lot of things in between then and him getting the job offer, but still Bobby accepted the job, and he took over for Coach Pierce, who tragically passed away with a car wreck in 1968, on his way to taking the wrestlers to the Gary Wrestling Tournament. So that was in 1968. But anyway, Bobby taught school here for 25 years. He coached at the high school for about 13 or 14 years. I'm not sure the exact number, but anyway, he also took a team, an all-state, it was an Oklahoma Freestyle Championship team. He took them to Bulgaria in 1975. And Bobby was also an all-state wrestling coach in 1975. So he had some fun here at Ponca City High School, no doubt about that. The good part about Bobby, well, that's not just the good part. There's a bunch of good parts. First of all, there's a story, or there's an old saying, behind every good man is a good woman. Well, I'm not just saying this. Linda Wilson is a very good woman, and she has done a good job. I think Bobby is where he's at to this day because of the support that she's given him. And she taught school in the district for probably 30 or 35 years. And she is a wonderful lady, and Bobby ought to be appreciative of that. I know he is, trust me. Thank you. Bobby's been involved in Habitat for Humanity for over 30 years. He actually started when he was the last year or so of his teaching career at the high school here. But he started out basically as a worker. It didn't take him long. I think it's because Linda helped me here. Is he a little bit bossy? Okay, well, he became really the boss for the Habitat group. And for, I would say, probably 20 years or so, and I'm giving a lot of this information in some of the people that work with him, 20 plus years, he was actually the person in Habitat for Humanity, building houses for people that needed them and couldn't afford them. They needed help, not only in the house, but getting it paid for. So he was really, in that period of time, called the construction supervisor, or construction coordinator. Anyway, he was in charge. Some of the things that some of his workers said about him, he doesn't know. I've been sneaking around talking about him. They said he was a hard worker. He was the greatest organizer. He was our boss. But what he really did was he cared about our work and the outcome of our projects because he wanted it done the right way for the people who were going to get in the house. He's been working for Habitat for Humanity as a volunteer for well over 30 years. And it's an awesome organization. If you don't know anything, I think most of you know about it. It's a great organization. Anyway, but saying all that, I want to tell you this. I am very, very, very honored to introduce Bobby as an inductee into the Ponca City High School Alumni Hall of Fame.
Nothing left to say. But thanks to the committee for supporting my nomination and the people that called in. This journey started a long time ago I have to give credit to my parents. They insisted that our family go to church Sunday morning, Sunday nights, Wednesday nights. And my attitude in life is around the Ten Commandments and the parables and all the things that was said by Jesus Christ. And some of the things I remember is do a good deed and don't talk about it. If you talk about it, it doesn't count. And I don't know whether that came from Boy Scouts or whether the Bible, but there's so many things that in Isaiah someplace it says something about what you give back tenfold or what something. I'm paraphrasing now. Don't know what I'm talking about because I wasn't a preacher. But anyway, I've tried to give more than I receive and not talk about it. And I wanted to try to fly under the radar. I told Alan I didn't want to be up here and accept this because there's so many great people that have accepted this honor. And I am so honored. I got to say this. I missed out on Citizen of the Month in Pohai, and I was terribly disappointed. And I don't know of any 1957 graduates that are in the Hall of Fame now. So the karma that I've been around has caught up with me. And I appreciate all the people that have worked, volunteered, I want to say worked, volunteered, but it started with my parents in church, through scouting. The scouting is actually developed through Christianity, and all the projects and work through scouting made me what I am too. But I have really tried to be a good person all my life. Oh, by the way, Ann Landers. I read her in the paper for years and years and years, and I did not want to make the mistakes that those people were writing in about. So I didn't have to go out and have affairs and do all that kind of stuff and get divorces and divorced and all that stuff. I read Ann Landers and she said not to do that. So I've been formed a lot by Ann Landers' opinions and answers to people's problems. But anyway, I've led a good life. My wife Linda and I both have worked hard. I taught, coached, drove trucks for 20 summers, Teamsters Union. I've been involved in Quail Unlimited and church work and all those things. And I guess I'm kind of a hyperactive guy. And I put it to use volunteering after Linda and I made our money to be able to retire. And I said, I don't ever want to work for money again. So I've been volunteering. And all my friends that wanted some help, I volunteered for them. The church, I volunteered tremendously through the church. I think that I don't want to say anything more about myself. I would like now to recognize those people that either have had me in class. I know I've got some state champion wrestlers here, and relatives, and challengers, Sunday school class, church people, our pastor Stephen. Would all of you stand up that came here to support me? Stand up. Everybody is going to support me. Thank you, Alan. I'm glad at 86 I can still walk.
Thank you, Coach, and I expect to see you on Monday and report to get those kids worked up for wrestling this season, all right? We're not going to touch that one tonight. Let's go ahead with our next inductee. Our next inductee is one of two 1967 graduates tonight that will be inducted into our Pohai Hall of Fame. He has an extensive bio. I hope you read it, but I'm going to give you a little bit off the bio information if you're all right with that. When I spoke to this inductee, the topic quickly went to school lunches. And he said he was not a fan of them. But instead, he found himself around Ponca City quite a bit during lunch. AAW, Tim's Drive-In, and the donut shop north of the high school. I'm wondering if he's part of the reason we have a closed campus today. I don't know. I did ask him favorite teacher at his time in the high school. And our inductee said Mr. Leaning, not related, of course. Mr. Leaning was the senior typing instructor. And he told me he was known for some of the best jokes ever told in class. So I had to go look at his personnel file. And as superintendent, I'm not going to read you some of those jokes that I found in that personnel file, because I don't know if they'd stand the test of time today. But our inductee would go on to be drafted after his time in Pohai and ended up as Master Sergeant Joe Day. Master Sergeant Day would end up highly decorated with a long career of serving our country and serving in our community. He went on to be a leader who served around the world, and he makes Pohai proud of him and Pohai proud today. Please join me in welcoming our 1967 Pohai alumnus into the Hall of Fame, Master Sergeant Joe Day.
Hello. When I was in Vietnam, my buddies used to say that they thought I was really lucky. And I guess I probably was, because I'm still here. And after I got out of the Army and a few years went by, I met the love of my life, Jamie. And that was over 47 years ago. She's a Ponca City alumni. And we had 3 children, Randy, Wes, and Dustin, all Pohai graduates. And we had 6 grandchildren. Haley was the first to graduate, and she graduated about 3 years ago. And then I have the oldest grandson was Cash, and Cash is currently a junior at the Pohai. And I just want to thank everybody for putting me up for this award. And it's one of the highest honors of my life. And it's something that will outlive me. And I just want to thank you very much.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, can you hear me out there? This is scary to a lot of people. The mirth of the microphone. First, I'd like to start with a little housekeeping. You've heard the passion of our inductees and their families. This past week, I was driving down the highway at a high rate of speed, listening to rock and roll, and Springsteen was on Glory Days. So what I would ask you all to do, you have a homework lesson this evening, is that when you get home, listen to some Springsteen and Glory Days, because it will tell you about the great times that we had at Ponca City High School. I'm here to introduce my classmate, Mark Nutt. Mark and I were Pohigh 67 grads, as was Joe. And obviously, hopefully y'all have read Mark's extensive bio, but obviously there are some things in there that he didn't want to include. And what I would share with you is that he and I have been in communication. He sort of asked me to do this. After a couple of days, I get, well, were you asking me to say a few words? And he said, yes. And then this evening, after he's been thinking about this for quite some time, he said, Murph, remember, I have the mic after you do. And I just looked at him and I said, no, this isn't a roast. This is an induction into the Hall of Fame. So he needs to remember that. We hear these stories about Dr. Fuller and the shenanigans that went on. We look back on our school days, and you all will remember there were some bullies that would steal your lunch money. Now, Mark Nuttall, to my knowledge, was not a lunch money stealer, but the guy could play cards. He's highly renowned at stealing lunch money for cards, but that's what he did, and he was very good at it. So what I would tell you is that Mark, we were talking, and somebody put the fear of God in Mark that he only had 5 minutes for his remarks. Well, I said, okay, Mark. I said, there's no way that that's going to work. And he told me, he said, Murph, he said, I'm an attorney. We talk slow. We get paid by the hour. I said, okay, I'll give up some of my time to get you 10. So I can hardly wait to hear what he comes up with. Hopefully in the bio, I had no idea that this meant so much to him, but Mark, some years ago, was a judge in the Miss America contest. I started thinking about that, guys. There were a lot of people jealous of Mark Nuttall that he was a judge for Miss America. But aside from what you're thinking about, how do you select a judge for Miss America, Mark was well suited for that. He married Anne. She was beautiful, she was poised, and she had a lot of perseverance. And what led up to that, that's his first qualification, but the second one was, you have to understand what Miss America does. She represents the United States of America, not only in our country, but around the world. They're going to ask her questions. So Mark got to interview, vet, if you will, the contestants so that they would know and could go out and sell the United States to not only our country, but the world. So I think that was a great fit. Obviously it made his bio, so it means a lot to him. Now, another thing that I will share with you, again, reading the bio, Mark has served not only Norman, Oklahoma, he's put a lot of time in Norman, Oklahoma, the state of Oklahoma, the United States, and the world. I don't know how you spend that much time. It's kind of like Doc Fuller. I mean, that's a lot of hours traveling and going around the world. So what I would share with you is that Mark is an achiever. And what means the most to Mark is his faith, his family, and his patriotism. And so, ladies and gentlemen, it's my distinct honor to present Mark Nuttall for induction into Ponca.
Well, thanks, Murph. I just hope you guys will read the bio so you know why I'm really being inducted to the Hall of Fame. Now, to follow suit, I thought I'd give you a little warm-up story before I get into my serious remarks. Many of you may not have known how strategic Ponca City is positioned on the globe. In the 1990s, I was a young lawyer, really a staff lawyer for a delegation that went to Tomsk, Siberia. This is after Boris Yeltsin's been elected, and we're doing a little diplomatic work out there, primarily trying to arrange for some Air Force bases and flight zones. And so it's a congressional delegation, and we get off the plane, and of course you let the head of the delegation get out first, and they're just pushing out of the way looking for me. And the mayor, they give me an award, the key to the city. I have no idea what this is about. It shocked me. This goes on for a while. And if you know congressmen personally, they have egos. And they don't like to be second on anything. So this goes on for a while. And we get to dinner that night, and I'm seated at the head table. Finally, the head of the delegation's had enough. And he goes up to the mayor and he says, "What is this? This guy's a staff lawyer. He's just a kid. What are you treating him like this?" And in front of the entire audience that night, he says, "You know, in Tomsk, when we're in the first grade, every child is given a globe, which is like a cushion to put a pen in. And you look at it, you're supposed to understand, then they go through geography. But at the end of the day, they give you a pen. And when you stick it through this side, on the other side, it comes out in Ponca City, Oklahoma." He said, "We never met anybody from Ponca City before. This is unbelievable. This is the start of our lives." And so the end of that story is, by the way, the head of his delegation is a Texas congressman. Now, I know we all love our Texas brothers and sisters, and some of you are probably from there. But this guy he was out there. And you know the old Texas story is everybody is from Texas and wish they were. So I didn't say anything. We're walking back to the hotel that night. I just couldn't resist it. His name was John. I said, "You know, John, everybody's from Ponca City who wish they were." Okay, now to my serious remarks. I'm just delighted to be here. Thank you, John, for this honor, this induction. I'm just so happy. And you know, driving up here, and I was impacted by the memories, somewhat overwhelmed, but not just the memories, which there are many, and just so many happy memories. But Superintendent Lehman, to your point about foundational principles that represents Ponca City, life-enduring principles personified by the people of this town is really what came to me. So let me explain. In 1960, I came to Ponca City as an 11-year-old child. We lived in Pawnee, we were born in Pawnee. Pawnee's a small town, 1,500 people, largest in the county, to the great metropolis of Ponca City. And the reason my mother was a phone operator, you remember, please, after stuck the cord in the box. And my dad was an auto mechanic, and when the state went to switching stations, the switching stations were Ponca City for rotary dial. And so we followed her up here because Dad was working on cars anyway. And my first trip up here was in a Greyhound bus from Pawnee to Ponca City. And I was a little afraid. You know, I was 11 years old. I'd never been out of town, really. The town seemed huge, but I left that fear within minutes of setting foot in Ponca City. I got off the bus, it wasn't 15 seconds before a total stranger walked up to me and said, "Son, do you know where you're going?" I said, "Well, I'm looking for Jack Bowker Ford." where my dad is a shop foreman. And he said, well, it's about 2 blocks from here. Let me show you where it is. I had directions that my mother had given me, but you know, he walked me down the street till we could see the Jack Banquet sign and said, now you got it, and pushed me on the way. Never asked for anything, never told me his name, just concerned that as a child I didn't know where I was. From that moment on, every meeting I had in Ponca City was one of absolute inclusion. Whether it was in school, our teachers just wanted the best for us. They wanted us to learn and find what our capacity was, what our talents to perform. Every coach just wanted us to find the discipline where our talents fit. Mine was ultimately in wrestling, but not to the extent of Bob Wilson, but I did play on, I did wrestle on the team. And every city elder, every city official, every church pastor, every Boy Scout leader just wanted us to be fulfilled in purpose. I was never isolated. I never felt limited by any personal station in life. I was taught by example that anything is possible. The sky is the limit for all opportunity presented, that there is always room at the table for one more individual. No one is excluded. Ponca City represented a family wherein everyone wanted the best for each other, where we were all equal in hope and purpose. You learn these foundational principles living here. You see it personified, life-enduring principles. I took these to my professional career. I was dispatched by a few presidents to assignments overseas. One was at the fall of the crisis at Tiananmen Square in China. And the time the Tiananmen Square massacre, I was sent by George Herbert Walker Bush, actually as an envoy. All diplomats had been withcalled. China was isolated. And for them, government being so important scared them to death. And that just scared the world. They weren't sure that China was even going to be stable. Chief of Staff was John Sununu. I would be debriefed by him before I left, and I would bring back diplomatic papers that I carried between the President and then President Xi Jinping for analysis as I debriefed the Chief of Staff. On one particular trip, they were interested to find out a little about the new National Security Advisor for China, Minister of Security. I remember this was at a time when there had been no travel to China for over a year and a half. There was still blood on the streets that hadn't been cleaned up, that was still being, people were still being persecuted and prosecuted. During the debriefing, the China desk, the CIA came out and brought this organizational chart that they had developed. I didn't know where anybody was in China, who was on first base, anything about it. It was about the size of this top of this podium. When you unfolded it like this, it was the size of a card table. And he said, look, I need you to, if you get in, we're going to make the appointment for you to see the National Security Advisor. And when you're in with him, see if you'll give some answers on this. And I'm looking at it, and I can tell it's kind of some top secret stuff. I said, Jimmy Chris, I'm not James Bond. What do you think I'm going to do with this? And they go, well, let's see what you need. Well, just try. Well, Johnson, being an engineer, everything was matter of fact. You know, it's a mathematical equation. If this, then this. Oh, he'll do it. He wasn't worried. So I get over there and I land into it. I'm taken by private plane to Beijing, shuffled off to the Great Hall. And you know, if you know, the Great Hall is cavernous. It seats 5,000 people comfortably in rounds. And we were at one table at the center of this room. I can remember as I can see it now as I close my eyes. It seemed like it took the waiters 15 minutes to get from the door to our table and back, just walking from the kitchen. Well, I've got my diplomatic pouch. I'm supposed to be going through these things. They knew it. They had it in advance. And I mean, it's not going well. The Minister of Security is scared to death. He's not a whole lot older than I was at the time, which is unusual for Chinese diplomats and dignitaries. And it just, we might as well have just adjourned. And so I applied this principle of family that I learned in Ponca City, that we're really on this earth for the same reason. We're trying to get through life the best we can. We're trying to do the best we can for the next generation. And so I took a chance. I looked at him and I said, Mr. Minister, I see on your vita that you have a teenage son. He goes, yes. I said, well, I'm a teenage daughter. He goes, yes, what's your point? I want to know if your teenage son thinks you're as hapless as my teenage daughter thinks I am. And he got this smile on his face. He turned to me and he couldn't hold the laughter back. He voiced it out, and this piece of rice flew across the table and hit the Secretary of State in the forehead. And he's looking around like this boy said, he throws it down. And then from then on, it broke the ice that we had something in common as human beings. We went on that night. It was a 4-hour dinner, and just he was touching me in my arms and stuff, which the Chinese don't do. You know that means they accept you. And so about an hour and a half into this, I pulled that chart out. I thought, we're getting along here so well. I'd like to take a look at this. And so I unfold it, and he looks at it. He unfolds it, he looks at it, and he looks at me, and he goes, is this the best your CIA can do? I said, I guess so. I'm not in the CIA. That's what they gave me. So this guy's dead. This guy's under house arrest. This guy's been missing for 6 months. We can't even find him. And he starts writing, this is going to take a while. And so he sets it to the side. We finished the dinner. About 3 hours later, we finished. He gives me the map back. He hadn't made a decision for a picture. We go over, take a picture with my camera. And I am delighted with all of this. We finish the mission. I get back. I'm debriefing Johnson in the White House, and I'm giving him all this stuff. He didn't think anything about it. At that point, he sends it downstairs to the China desk. The CIA director comes back up and just, the evidence. This is unbelievable. We've never seen this kind of information. We couldn't get this when we had ambassadorial contacts. How did you do that? And of course, Chief of Staff Saloon dismisses, so I told you to do it. But he walks out, he says, no, really, Mark, how did you get this information? And I said, well, do you have any teenage kids? He said, no. And I said, when you do, remember this. Take them to Ponca City, spend a little bit of time, and you'll know how I got that information on the chart. What I have learned in this life is that there is a common desire, a common purpose among individuals in the human race. We really just want more for our children. We want a better future for their existence. We don't want to learn all the hard lessons that we learn. We want to avoid war if we can. We want to give them a better inheritance than we had. And particularly my generation that was handed so much after World War II. And I believe that I learned that on that first bus trip from Pawnee. And I've been enormously blessed in my life beyond expectation. Several of my classmates wrote on Facebook, that Vicki Wasson put out, that the best decision I ever made was to choose Ann Monson, my high school sweetheart, as my lifelong partner. I did. We've been married 53 years. I even had a teacher tell me that once. At a high school reunion, how lucky I was to ever been able to connect with Ann Monson. She has given me 2 daughters, or given us 2 daughters, Melissa and Marcy. Marissa's here tonight as a teenage daughter who may have, by her own personality, saved relationships between the United States and China in the late 1980s. She's now my spiritual counselor and advisor, a successful professional who I look to every day for direction. She's married to made a wonderful choice of her husband, Tommy Adler, a trial lawyer, and 3 grandchildren, Trip, Alex, and Lola are with us tonight. Couldn't be prouder, couldn't be more pleased, couldn't be more grateful to God for this family. My other daughter and her husband, Blake, Artsock. They have 4 children, Anna, Jade, Elizabeth, and Emma are missionaries living in London, in charge of the Antioch Church Network for Europe. Again, a true lesson. In all these things, I am beyond grateful. I am foundationally indebted to this Ponca City principle for life-enduring principles personified. And to If Gail Young were still here, I would tell her, I thank God for allowing me to grow up in Ponca City and to experience true unconditional inclusion in their community activities. I give all this credit to God. How else could it have happened? How else could it have been orchestrated? I want to thank the members of the committee for the Ponca City High School Alumni Hall of Fame for extending this invitation to me. I'm honored. And I will close with this quote from a great Oklahoman who binds us generationally. Upon accepting or being given the Favor Son nomination for President of the United States at the Democratic State Convention in Muskogee, Oklahoma, Will Rogers accepted this quote. There is no greater honor than to be accepted by those from which you came. I can echo that sentiment tonight. Thank you very much.
Okay, our last inductee was a Ojai graduate of 1992 and considered everyone she met a friend. She kept her friendships for life and always strived to never offend or leave anyone out. She has an extensive bio, I hope you read it, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about Stephanie that was not in the bio. First thing is that she was a Pepperette. She was, in her family fondly remembers hosting that Pepperette Halloween party and that bonfire and the famous haunted hayride along East Dam Road at Lake Ponca. She was the vice president of the class of 1992 and helped coordinate the class reunions with her good friend Vicki Ramey and Kristen Wynn. Most Friday nights of her youth were spent at dances, sporting events, and usually ending with a carload of girls to have a slumber party at the house. Several of these Friday nights, and I verified this in the police briefs, involved toilet papering someone's houses or being the victim of a toilet papering. Those were the days. Stephanie loved sunshine and water. She enjoyed swimming and tennis. Tennis is a sport that she enjoyed playing in the country club and in nearly every community across the state of Oklahoma in several different tournaments. She could be seen working summer jobs as a lifeguard at Ambucks and at Sun and Fun. In fact, it was at Ambuck Pool where she rescued her first puppy, Daisy. She would also go on to adopt future dogs, Boomer and Sooner. Stephanie was an independent-minded student who took care of her business in the classroom, and Mom and Dad never had to worry if her work was completed. She never complained about school. Her teachers and principals remarked great things about Stephanie. They would end up becoming her own neighbors and friends like Bernie Jackson, Johnny Woody, Lester Freeman, and Ojai principal Bill Hicks. Stephanie loved to dance and never stopped dancing. I hope she's still dancing right now. Mom and Dad said it was an incredible day when the cordless phone became a household staple, where Stephanie could dance, talk, chat until the wee hours of the night with her friend Allison Horn. Stephanie would leave Ojai and eventually join the world of medicine, where she was building a storied legacy. She cared for people and always wanted to do more for the people she interacted with, something she carried with her from Ojai. Stephanie is a reminder to each of us about the importance of living a life full of love, joy, and compassion. She was taken from this world too soon on June 1st, 2022. Stephanie's parents, Greg and Joyce, are in attendance with Stephanie's brothers, Jeff and AC, both Ojai graduates, and their wives, Beth and Annie. Would you please join me in welcoming 1996 graduate AC Houston to accept this induction for his sister, Stephanie.
Okay, I was supposed to have him back up here, but he stayed in his seat, so. We'll get through it. So anyway, as I listened to all these speakers tonight, such great speeches, I realized, whoa, my family picked the wrong person. So I am not a public speaker. My voice cracks, I cry. So.
And I lost my voice this week. Otherwise, I'd be doing this.
So we'll get through it. So my wife said, just look at the paper. Just look at the paper. So anyhow, but I wanted to such great speeches tonight. It was great. Mr. Ford brought up kittens, which I love your button. To this day, I get crap from my friends. I say crap. You guys were the kittens? And I said, yeah. So it was right up the street, and we drove it today coming into town. I told my wife, I said, there used to be little paw prints from East Junior High that got bigger to become Wildcats. So anyhow, all right. So I'm AC Hughes, and I'm Stephanie's younger brother, class of 1996. This is Jeff, Stephanie's uglier brother. Older brother. Sorry, I misread that. So my parents, Greg and Joyce, and all of our family would like to thank the nominating committee and Ponca City Alumni for honoring Stephanie with this recognition. So many incredible people have been honored with this award tonight and in the past. As I thought about what to say tonight, I asked myself, why is Stephanie deserving of this award? Just read it, yeah. She had many accolades. After high school, graduating from OU Physical Therapy School, she went on, that wasn't enough, so she went on to medical school, then did a dual residency in internal medicine and pediatrics before starting her career to take care of thousands and thousands of patients. You can read all that in the program, but I had to brag a little bit. But I don't think that is the why. Stephanie was not quite a lifelong Ponca Cityan. We moved to Ponca City when Stephanie was about 6 months old. We were blessed with the opportunity to grow up in Ponca City, an opportunity that I would never trade. We grew up on Lake Ponca, a small farm on the east side of the lake, and spent many days at our cabin on the west side. When we were young, Stephanie spent hours She spent hours running around the nature trails. I'm sorry. Feeding the ducks at the duck ponds, sometimes sneaking away off to the spillway, which was off limits. Then she would ride her bike all over town to see her friends. And when she became 16 and could drive, she hung out at different places on the lake and with her friends. And she spent her days lifeguarding at Ambuck's pool, Sun and Fun, or working the cheerleader fireworks stand. Why'd she do these things? Because that's what she did in Ponca City. So while she did this, though, she created a love, which you've heard throughout tonight. A love for Ponca City, and developed some of the best friendships she would ever have. Friendships that would truly last a lifetime. The class of 1992, High friends support each other in their sports, schoolwork, and the ups and downs of their school years. The class of 1992 has many people that have accomplished great goals, many who themselves could be receiving this award. These friends could lean on each other, but would also push each other to be the best they could be. Would her classmates please stand up? prayers for Stephanie and her family. She loved you and her years growing up in Ponca City. Ponca pride is a real thing. Stephanie carried that Ponca pride with her, and it showed in everything she did. Her work ethic, her goals, success in her career, and her love for others was all ingrained in her while growing up in Ponca City. So why do I think she deserves this award? Because she was a true Poncan. She loved this town. I'm almost there. And she did everything she could to make me proud. Thank you again. Our family is honored to receive this recognition of Stephanie. Thank you. That's all.
Okay, we are complete, and we have inducted 5 awesome people into our Hall of Fame. Everybody should be so proud. Everybody.